All right. So by now you guys should have had enough time to write down all the notes. Okay. We are going to look at both of these problems here. Okay. And pretty much this is all you're going to be doing for the assignment is doing 4 of these. Okay. So let's talk about how to go about doing it. So the first thing we always want to do is let's go ahead on our graphs here. Okay. Just kind of count over. I believe this is a 1, 2, 3, 4. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so this is a 20 by 20 box. Okay, so what I like to do is I just go over 10 and then down 10 and I try to draw my my coordinate plane. Okay, so I'm going to get and I'm going to go down 10 as well. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, guys, is we want our vertex. Okay, this is in the form. This is H, this is K. Okay, so when we write our vertex out, though, guys, we do opposite of what's inside there. Okay, because if you recall, your formula had minus up here. So just like what we have talked about in the past, whenever we pull anything out of a parentheses, we do opposite signs. So my vertex, which is h comma k, is going to be equal to 2 comma 1. Okay, so that's the first thing I always want to do is I want to graph 2 over 2 up 1. Okay, so then I ask myself this. I go back up and I look at my formula and I say, okay, what type of parabola here? Is this thing opening up, down, up or down, or left or right? Well, first off, we know that it is opening up or down because of x being squared here. Okay, so the x value is squared there. We know this is opening up or down. Now, to determine exactly that, we need to go ahead and we need to solve for p. So, recall this right here, this 8 is what 4p is equal to. So I'm going to do 4p is equal to 8. So whatever value is outside the parentheses here, that's what you're going to set 4p equal to. Where is that 4p coming from? My formula. Look up in the box right above you there. Okay? Divide by 4, and we find out that p is 2. So then since p is greater than 0 here, the parabola is going to open up. Okay, the parabola is going to open up. So, since I know that this parabola is opening up or down, I'm taking x equals h as my formula. Well, we already know what h is. We listed on the vertex there. So that means you would write it as x equals 2. So, our vertex right here at 2 comma 1, I'm going to draw a vertical axis of symmetry through that point. So there's my axis of symmetry right here. So axis of symmetry. Okay. Now, my focus is the distance from the vertex is p. Okay, is the distance from the is p from the sorry, I can't talk. Is p, and so we know that the focus, since this parabola is opening up, okay, we know that since this parabola is opening up, the focus is going to be somewhere in there. It's going to look something like this, and it's going to look something like this. So, how I get that is I just go up whatever p is, and I plot a point there. Okay. So I'm going to label that F. That's my focus. Okay, my focus, which is just, how do we know again, how do we know? Because the parabola is opening up, the focus is always inside the parabola. Okay? Also, if you need to remember your formula is this. It is h, comma, k, plus p. So in this case, and this is how I want you to write it. I want you to write because it's an ordered pair, okay? You're going to do, and you can just leave it like this. You're going to do h, what h is, so 2, comma, k, plus 2, which then you would write it like this, guys. It would be 2, comma, 3, which we went up 2 from to get to that. And yes, there we go. We are in good shape there. Okay. Now, my next thing is the directrix, okay? And so the directrix we know now has to be below the vertex, because when the parabola opens up, the directrix is always below, it's always outside the parabola, okay? So to get the directrix, if you look up in the box above, it says this, your formula is y equals k minus p. So let's go ahead and let's plug in what we know. Well, we know k is 1. Where do we get k from? That's my vertex. Okay. Minus, what did we say p was? P was equal to 2. How do we get p again? We set whatever the value is outside the parentheses to the right equal sign equal to 4p, because that's how it looks like in our formula. Okay. And so we're going to get 2 minus k, I'm sorry, and k is 1, not 2. I apologize. So we're going to get 1 minus 2. And therefore then, it's going to look like this. What is 1 minus 2? Y equals a negative 1. So then at negative 1, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a dashed line. That's my directrix. Okay. Now we are almost finished. Our focal width, the formula for that is equal to the absolute value of 4p. Well, what was 4p equal to? 8. So let's go ahead and let's plug an 8 in there. Well, what's the absolute value of 8? Absolute value means positive, right? Because absolute value is the distance away from 0. The distance away from 0. So therefore, every time you give me a focal width, it's always going to be positive. We're talking distance. Okay? So what that means is that the distance through the focus is going to be 8. Now, how I do this is that total distance is 8. And what happens is that the focal width is actually going to be, the focus is going to be actually in the exact middle of that total distance. So what that means is that since I had a total distance of 8 from the focus here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4, plot a point, left 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that total distance from here to here is 8. So then last but not least, we're just going to go ahead here now and then draw a parabola from our vertex going up. This is so unique. At this point I would say, hey, is there any questions? But there's obviously no one to ask questions. So we are just going to move on to the next question. Okay. So this one here, we've got now y plus 3 to the second power equals a negative 4x. Okay, and if you really wanted to, what I like to do too here is I put a parentheses and I just do x plus 0. I just put a parentheses around that x and I add the 0 there because that kind of helps me with my vertex. Okay. So first things first is let's go ahead and write out our vertex. Now remember, this is now k. This is now h. X is always with the h. Y is always with the k, guys. X is always with the h. Y is always with the k. So when I write my vertex for this one, it's going to be 0, negative 3. Remember, we always do opposite. Always do opposite. Okay? By putting that parentheses there between the negative 4 and x, it makes it a lot easier to determine now what I'm setting 4p equal to. So in this case, I'm going to set 4p equal to negative 4. Divide by the 4, divide by the 4, and I see that p is equal to a negative 1. Okay? So that tells me two things. One, I know that this parabola is opening either left or right because which term is squared? The y now is squared. So I know that the parabola is opening left or right. Okay? So real quick, just go over here and create your coordinate plane again. Okay? And so we know then that this parabola is opening left or right. Now, what P is going to tell me, now that we know it opens left or right, whether it opens exactly right or left. Well, since P is less than 0, this parabola now is opening to the left. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's graph our focus here. Our vertex. So 0, negative 3. There's our vertex. We'll label it V. So I should have labeled the other graph V as well for the vertex. F for the focus. Okay, and then label your directrix and your axis of symmetry. All right. So for our axis of symmetry, now that we have a parabola that is opening left or right, our formula now is y equals k. So in this case, then that means then we're going to have y equals a negative 3. So at y equals negative 3, go ahead and draw a dashed line through the vertex. Okay? Since this graph is opening to the left, guys, our focus is going to be this way. It's going to be to the left. It's going to be to the left. So our formula for that is h plus p comma k. So let's look at what that looks like. That means we're going to have this. We're going to have h, which is 0. Okay? Now, p is negative in this case. So that negative takes over that plus sign. And so we've got 0 minus 1 minus comma negative 3. And so our point then is 0 minus 1. That's a negative 1, negative 3. So we're going to go over negative 1, down 1, 2, 3. And we're going to plot the focus. Okay? Which makes sense because you go what the p-value is to get to the focus from the vertex. So in this case, what was p equal to? Negative 1, so we just went left 1. Okay? Our directrix, same thing. Look above in the chart right above you. Our directrix now is equal to x equals h minus p. So let's go ahead, let's plug that in. So we know h is equal to 0, 0, minus. This is where this gets tough, guys. That minus is in the original formula. And what is p now equal to? A negative 1, because that's what we found, right? So 0 minus minus 1 gives you that plus now, and that's going to give you now 1. And don't forget to write it as x equals or y equals. You're graphing a line. So x equals 1. So there's our directrix. Here's our axis of symmetry. Okay, and since those are actual lines, we have to write as x equals or y equals. Okay. Last but not least, we need to come up with our focal width. Okay, remember our focal width is equal to the absolute value of 4p. Okay, the absolute value of 4p. So we set 4p equal to a negative 4. Okay, but since it's absolute value, we're looking at total distance from 0, so therefore it would just be 4. This value, again, is always going to be positive. We're talking about distance. So what I do then is that the total distance through the focus should be 4, but the focus should be in the exact middle there. So from the focus here, I'm going to go up to, point, down to, point. Okay? And so again, when you look at this, guys, this is a total distance of 4. Once you have your focal width done, just go ahead and draw your parabola opening to the left. Guys, thank you for sitting through all this today. This is obviously new for me as well. This probably wasn't the best one, and I promise I will get better. You guys are awesome, and I'm just, again, I'm very grateful to be your teacher. And guys, let's not stress out about this. Let's do the best we can. Okay, I will be available on Tuesdays from 11:30 to 1:30 for questioning, and really any time during the week, guys, during the daytime. All right. I think you guys are definitely you guys are super bright, and you'll definitely be able to figure this out. So what I want you to be working on is the 4 problems on the back, and I will be available again, like I said, for questioning tomorrow. Okay. I'll talk to you guys soon again when I post the next video for next week's lesson. Talk to you later. Bye.